Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. So today I'm filming my Thrillerathon wrap-up. Originally I wasn't going to do this as a separate video, but August turned out to be a far better reading month for me than I thought it would. And Thrillerathon went amazingly as well. So I'm just going to split it up into two videos rather than doing one long, awful one. So for Thrillerathon I read 6 books, which is amazing. More amazingly, I read 4 of them in one day. We were blessed with a beautiful weekend of sunshine on the bank holiday, and I spent pretty much the entire bank holiday just sat outside reading in the garden or reading in my room when the sun got too much, so I had a lovely time. So I'll just start going through what I read and what I thought of them. The first book was the one that took me the longest, and that is The Favourite Sister by Jessica Knoll. This is quite a hefty book, and the font inside is pretty small, so this took me about 5 days in total to finish while I was reading other things. This is kind of a thriller contemporary. It's more of a contemporary than a thriller, though there are some thriller aspects and the ending's definitely thriller-esque. But this is about a woman, or several women, who are part of this TV show. It's a reality show. And it's kind of based around maybe the Real Housewives. I don't watch that kind of reality TV, but it's basically just filming these women's lives, and they're all meant to be successful business women in various ways, and they've all got their kind of stereotypes that they fit into. And they're about to start the 3rd or 4th season of the show when one of the main cast's sister is invited to join the show with her young daughter, and this kind of throws everything into chaos, eventually ending in a death, which isn't a spoiler. You find that out I think at the start you find out, and you also find out who dies pretty soon, but I'm not going to say. This was really good. It does drag a lot, and it took me a long time to get into it because there are so many characters, and I didn't find them particularly distinguishable, certainly at the start of the book. By the end I could tell who they all were, but it was very difficult for me to keep track of the characters. Having said that, I did really enjoy it, and I really liked the kind of the progression of the story. I wouldn't recommend it necessarily for thriller fans, and it's not for everyone, which is probably why it's got such bad reviews on Goodreads. But yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I did like it a lot. It did feel a bit of a slog at times, but it was well written and it was very much character focused, which is the kind of books that I enjoy, so I'm glad I read it. The next book I read was See All the Stars by Kit Frick. This was actually an arc I was sent through NetGalley, but it came out on the 22nd of August. This again is basically more of a contemporary story than a thriller. My first 2 reads weren't really high on the thriller count. This is about a girl who had a close friendship group, and she fell in love with a boy, and it kind of threw the friendship group into disarray. This is set in high school, and then something has happened and the friendship group has been fractured. It's a big thing that has happened, but you don't know what's happened, and it's kind of told in alternating chapters. So it's told there's a chapter in the past and there's a chapter in the present, and it continues with that pattern of gradually unfolding what happened. I will link my blog review down below for this, as I will with all my arcs. This I did enjoy. At parts I felt concerned as to where the story was going, because it was doing that contemporary feel, and I was worried about what the eventual reveal would be. I'm not going to spoil it, but thankfully it was bigger than I thought it was going to be at certain points. It kind of implied that it was going to be like a petty high school drama, and I wasn't into that, but thankfully it's not just a petty high school drama, which is good. I think that this book doesn't do a whole lot that is new, which is a shame because I really enjoyed the writing and I would definitely check out more by this author. I gave it 3 stars, I think. 3.5 stars I gave it again, probably because of the writing style. But yeah, it just doesn't do a whole lot that's new, and it's sort of not quite predictable, but nothing's gonna shock you or surprise you. So it's really well done, and it's a great example of what it is, which is like a young adult contemporary with some mystery elements in. But it's not groundbreaking, and that was a shame. However, I would definitely want to read more by this author. The next book I read was Sleep by C.L Taylor. This one is definitely a thriller. I finally got my solid thriller read for Thrillerathon. This I gave 4 stars out of 5 to. A lot of people love this. A lot of people were reading this one because it was one of the Thrillerathon challenge books that you could pick. So I know a lot of people loved this way more than I did. I did enjoy it a lot, don't get me wrong. This is about a woman who is in a car accident, and it's with work colleagues, and a couple of the work colleagues die in this accident, and she was driving, but it kind of wasn't her fault. But it's debatable as to whether it was her fault. So to escape this kind of depression that she's gone into because of this incident, she moves to this remote Scottish island and helps out at this hotel. She gets a new job where she's just working in this hotel, and because the island's so remote, people come to stay on it, and they always have to stay at this hotel because it's like the only hotel, and there are a bunch of guests who come to this hotel, and then creepy things start happening. That's all I'm going to kind of say about the plot. This is a really good, solid thriller. I love the premise. I really, really wish that I'd read this in winter because I read it on my bank holiday day, and I was like sat in the sun and it was boiling, and this is such an atmospheric thriller because it's set in a storm and the rain's coming down. It's on this tiny island, so this would be a perfect winter thriller if you haven't read it already. Save it for like the November, December months when everything's dark and mysterious. That's not why I didn't like it as much as some other people. I think it has a really good twist in it that shouldn't work, but it does. And then the end is just solid, so it makes sense and it's decent and it's a good end to the story, but it didn't blow me away, which I think is why it's not like a 5-star read or a 4.5 star. But I would definitely recommend it. This is a fantastically written thriller, and I'm looking forward to checking out more by this author because I own quite a few by her and I haven't read any of them yet, and this has made me want to read more of them. The next book I read is super short. It is Broken Bay by Andrea Dunlop. This is a novella. It was only about 80 pages on my Kindle. And this is about a group of women who go to this kind of, I think it's an island, for a hen party. And during their time on this island, the bride vanishes, and they're kind of trying to find out what happened to her. And there's also some vaguely supernatural stuff going on, which I didn't know going in, so I want to make that clear to people, that there is the discussion of ghosts and that kind of spin on it. This sadly didn't really do a whole lot for me. I gave it 2.5 stars, and it was super short. It didn't do a lot with the time it had. And there was just a lot of weird stuff going on that I found quite off-putting. So within the group of women, there's several discussions about feminism. And I don't really know what the author's trying to do. It feels like there's a lot of mean-spirited comments that are coming from the author rather than from the characters. And I hate it when writers do that, because it's just like they're projecting their views onto their characters, and it's like takes you out of the story. But there's like a thing where one of the characters is super against marriage and the other one's super into it, and they have like a fight about it. And just the way it's handled is a little clumsy, and I don't really know who's meant to be right in terms of who the author thinks is right, and it's kind of not in a way where they're like, oh, they both have good points. It's just clumsy characterization and a couple of unsettling themes that I didn't really enjoy. Yeah, ultimately this book just takes so little time to read and doesn't do a whole lot that it didn't really feel like, I didn't feel like I wasted my time, but it didn't really feel like a worthwhile read either, which is a shame because it sounded quite interesting. The next book I really adored, and that is Monsters by Emerald Fennell. This is a Kindle book. I got it for about 99p, which is insane given how much I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, but I have a feeling that I'm going to reread it at some point and probably bump it higher. So this is a book about this girl who is staying with her aunt and uncle in a hotel for the summer. She's an orphan. And this girl is, shall we say, a little bit messed up. So she's the kind of girl who would torture animals, and she's clearly got she's had quite a traumatic life, and she's got a lot of darkness in her, but it's told in this really entertaining way. It's told from her point of view, and she's a child, and it reads like she's a child, which is fantastic, and it's just so incredibly darkly humorous. I loved it. It was right up my street. So this girl is staying at this hotel, and then this boy comes with his mother, who is her age, and they befriend each other, and essentially they're both dark children. He's a little bit darker than she is, and they start there's this series of murders that are happening around the hotel, and they start trying to solve it together. Yeah, this was just brilliant. I really love it. If it sounds like your kind of thing, definitely check it out, because it was everything I could have hoped for from reading the blurb. It was just so entertaining. The characters were great, particularly the main girl. She was done so well so that you still sympathised with her, but she's not really a good person, and that takes a lot of skill from the author to do that. And yeah, I just loved it. It had a satisfying ending, and it was a perfect summer read as well, because it took place around like this beach area and this hotel, and it was so enjoyable but gruesome, which is my brand. So yeah, I'm very, very happy I read this. And the final book I read was slightly a bit of a disappointment after that last one, but it was The Flower Girls by Alice Clark-Platts. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars to. This is an average thriller. It's kind of the definition of an average thriller for me. It's about these 2 girls. They're actually sisters, which I didn't know. So these 2 sisters, when they were younger, they kidnapped this baby, and the baby died. It was found dead and mutilated. So the girls got put on trial for this crime, but one of them was too young. One of them was 6, and I think one of them was 10, and the 6-year-old was too young to be put on trial, and then the 10-year-old was put on trial and then locked away in a facility, and her family just abandoned her after that. And now, in the present day, the younger sister is an adult, and she's staying at this hotel when a child goes missing, and she's had her identity hidden for all these years, and then because this child has gone missing while she was there, her identity gets revealed, and then the story kind of progresses from there. It was interesting, but not a lot really happens in terms of action or things, like plot details. So it was an okay reading experience, but then the ending is sort of mediocre at best, and it's just, I don't want to be too harsh because I think some people would read this and really love it, and it's got a great premise, but it's such a stereotypical thriller for me because I read so many of them that I know I'm going to forget it quite easily. And it also does the thing which I hate, where there's like a last second twist that doesn't make any sense if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, but the author just throws it in for shock value, and I really, really hate that when they do that. So yeah, this wasn't bad by any means. I've certainly read far worse thrillers, but it was just kind of okay, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, so that is all of the books that I read for Thrillerathon. I had a fantastic time. I love Thrillerathon. Let me know if you took part, what you read, if you're thinking about reading any of the ones that I've mentioned, or you have read them and you've got your own opinions on them. That would be great. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It helps me out massively. And I hope to see you next time.